No one predicted that the night would turn out to be one of the most emotional moments in BTS's concert history. Amidst the roar of thousands of cheers and the light of the ocean light stick radiating in the arena, an unexpected figure appeared from behind the stage. Jungkook, the youngest member of BTS who was not previously scheduled to attend, suddenly stood in the middle of the spotlight, approaching Jin, who had just finished his solo song. In an almost deafening silence, Jungkook uttered a single sentence that instantly brought thousands of ARMY to tears. "Hyung, I'm proud of you." The sentence is simple, but it is spoken with a trembling tone of voice, with eyes that hold back tears, and with body gestures that show deep longing. Jin, who was holding the microphone with his right hand, looked surprised. His other hand covered his face, an emotional response very rarely shown by a figure as professional as Jin. The audience couldn't even hold back the tears. Many immediately lowered their heads, hugged each other, and even called out their second names in a voice broken with emotion. Jungkook's attendance at Jin's concert was not something announced in advance. There were no hints, no teasers, and not even the local media received any signals regarding this possibility. In HYB's internal circles, this decision was touted as one of the closed surprise moments prepared by the management at the direct request of Jungkook himself. There was no press conference. There was no rehearsal. All is left to spontaneity and genuine emotion on stage. More than just a presence, the moment became a symbol of the unshakable relationship between BTS members. Jungkook, who has been known to be very secretive in expressing his emotions in public, instead chose a global stage to convey his feelings of pride for Sang-hyun, who had just completed his military service. This marked a turning point not only in their personal relationships, but also in the emotional dynamics of the group that for the past 2 years has been running in incomplete formation. The eyes of the cameras scattered in various corners of the venue perfectly captured Jin's expression that went from confused, haru, to unable to hold back tears. Not only was Jin crying, Jungkook seemed to take a deep breath, turned his face away for a moment, then looked back at Jin and said, "Thank you for coming back. I miss you every day." ARMY's response to this moment overflowed not only in concert arenas. Across social media, their hashtags were trending in more than 30 countries in just over an hour. But more than that, the fan community responded to this event not as a mere interaction between two idols, but as an emotional reconstruction after 2 years of separation. Many of them voiced that Jungkook's simple words healed wounds they never realized existed. Some observers of the Korean entertainment industry even called this moment an event that reunited BTS and ARMY's hearts emotionally. There are not a few who say that Jungkook's statement is much more impactful than an award speech or album promotion. The reason? The sentence comes from an authentic longing, without a script, without rehearsals, and without filters. According to an unnamed source, Jungkook had asked management for personal permission just hours before the concert. He doesn't want to appear as a highlight or extra appearance, but just wants to show that he is there for Sang-hyun. Even the concert staff did not know that the VVIP seats that were previously seen empty had been prepared for Jungkook. He waited there from the middle of the concert, disguised in a mask and hoodie, until it was time to go on stage. The question then arises among ARMY and observers. Why did Jungkook choose to appear suddenly without notice? Why did he just say 1 or 2 sentences, then get off the stage quickly? Is this just a moment of emotional spontaneity, or is there a larger implicit message behind it? Some analysts believe Jungkook's actions are the highest form of respect he can give. By not stealing attention from Jin's solo concert, he still gives Sang-hyun a full room. But by showing up at the right moment and saying the right words, Jungkook managed to lift the essence of the concert itself. Not just a music stage, but an emotional stage for the BTS Brotherhood. Does this mean that BTS's full togetherness is starting to approach reality? Will Jungkook's sudden appearance be the catalyst for a full reunion after all the members have completed their military service? To be sure, the moment has shaken not only the concert arena, but also the millions of hearts who watched it online and through unofficial recordings. And most importantly, the moment cannot be engineered. And oh, background music. No visual effects. Only two humans stood staring at each other in the middle of the giant stage, carrying the emotional burden of millions of people who longed for BTS's complete formation. Now, many are starting to ask, is this a signal of BTS's return in full? Are Jin and Jungkook putting together something bigger than just a stage reunion? Or is this moment one particular message that can only be understood by those who really follow the story of the closeness of the two from the first day of debut? Armies around the world were still silent, trying to understand the meaning of every word, every gesture, and every tear that night. Do you believe that this moment is really sincere and spontaneous? Or is there a carefully crafted emotional strategy to stir public feelings? Let's reflect together, because what happened that night was more than an appearance. It was a statement of the heart. However, in the midst of such an intense emotional wave, important questions begin to arise from various circles. Is what we are witnessing really pure and authentic? Or is there a huge narrative being driven from behind the scenes of the entertainment industry? It is undeniable that Jungkook's sudden appearance at Jin's concert seemed too perfect. The right camera shooting angle, the voice captured clearly on the mic, to the narration of sincere phrases without scripts that fit so well with public expectations. In the modern world of entertainment, which is dominated by algorithms, marketing strategies, and viral narratives, these kinds of events need to be examined more carefully. Is this a purely emotional event? Or is it part of a strategic communication scenario designed to generate waves of empathy and loyalty towards the BTS brand? Furthermore, we need to ask, where does this information come from? Many of the pieces of video that circulated first came from TikTok, Instagram Reels, and unofficial YouTube channels. Some even come from fan footage that doesn't show the full angle of the interaction. The 15 to 30-second video cut was widespread, then met by a huge emotional reaction. However, without official confirmation from HYB's agency or a direct statement from Jin or Jungkook, can we really conclude that the entire scene was spontaneous and emotional? There are things we need to consider critically. Why isn't Jungkook's appearance being covered by major South Korean media directly? Why didn't a single journalist from a major outlet like Dispatch, Yonhap, or K-Media verify his presence on set before the video went viral? Is this because his presence is so discreet, or precisely because not all parties have access to the actual agenda behind the concert? While many welcomed the moment with tears and rave reviews, others questioned its deeper motives. Is this part of BTS's strategy of returning to the full stage in 2025? Has the agency begun to sow the seeds of longing through emotional narratives to ensure that expectations of a full reunion are kept alive in a sentimental atmosphere? Even from the shooting side, some video footage showed that the stage camera had been pointed in the direction where Jungkook appeared long before he boarded. This led to suspicions that his presence had been technically anticipated. If it was not planned, how could the stage lighting and sound arrangement be so ready to support such a spontaneous moment? Another question, why is only one sentence spoken by Jungkook? Is this due to time constraints? Or is it simply intentional so that the emotional effect is stronger? Sentences like, "Hyung, I'm proud of you," sound like emotional punchlines that have been carefully calculated to maximize resonance in fans' hearts. Is it possible that this script has been drafted, tested, and decided upon as the most effective form of minimalist communication? In this context, We need to remember that the information that is widely circulated on platforms such as TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube does not always come from official sources. In fact, in many cases, viral information focuses more on emotional appeal than factual accuracy. So, as an intelligent and critical public, we need to examine: are we witnessing a historical moment or just part of a successful emotional marketing scenario? We do not declare that this event is definitely fake. However, we also cannot be sure that everything is real. What we present are fragments of information circulating from various platforms. All still require clarification and verification from official sources, including HYB's agency, each member's personal manager, or statements directly from Jin and Jungkook themselves. It is important to note that the entertainment world, especially one as large and complex as BTS, can never be separated from the dynamics of communication strategies, image framing, and managing public expectations. Are we as spectators still able to distinguish between what is really happening and what is set up to look like reality? Some questions readers need to ponder. If this moment really happened, why has no professional documentation been officially released to date? If this was an internal shock, how did Jungkook get into such a tight concert security system without the knowledge of the production staff and crew? If there really is no script, why are the sentences so short and emotionally targeted? And the most basic, did you yourself really watch the whole video of this event? Or are you just following the flow of an edited viral narrative? In an age of information moving faster than clarification, we are all responsible for filtering what we consume. Not just for the sake of avoiding hoaxes, but also to make sure that we're not being played by an industry that understands audience psychology more deeply than we realize. Therefore, we invite you to reflect. Are these moments of Jungkook and Jin part of a purely emotional reality? Or is it precisely this simulation, very finely designed by the media system and the entertainment industry? Continuing with the previous discussion, one fundamental question that cannot be ignored is, why did this narrative appear at a very strategic time? Just as public enthusiasm for Jin's concert reaches its peak, an emotional shock arises that instantly shifts the focus of public conversation from the concert itself to one dramatic point: Jin and Jungkook's meeting. Is this coincidence of time? Or is it a moment that has been predicted and calculated as a means of emotional leverage? It should also be noted that the revival of the narrative of friendship or intimacy between BTS personnel, especially towards the end of the conscription period and the 2025 comeback issue, did not happen once. This pattern has often appeared in other forms, whether it's old BeLive snippets that go viral again, comments on social media that appear on time, or rare interactions captured in short-lived videos. Then the question, is this pure sincere nostalgia? Or is this part of HYB's suite of communication strategies to maintain fandom loyalty? We also need to consider the aspect of information distribution. Many of those viral videos never featured the official Weverse logo or broadcast channels BTS typically uses. Most of them come from fan accounts. Some even use personal watermarks or artistic edits that actually add to the visual bias. Then, can the information circulating be used as valid evidence? To what extent can the validity of that already distorted piece of video serve as the basis for an emotional narrative? This phenomenon leads us to one important reflection. Does the public, in this case the army and netizens, still have room for skeptical thinking when information is presented in a very evocative format? Many of us cried when we saw Jin and Jungkook's interaction in the viral video. But how many of us try to check the source, context, or complete chronology of events? Critical attitude does not mean disrespect for emotions. Quite the contrary, by verifying the truth, we keep our emotions from being manipulated by interested parties. In this case, if indeed the interaction is real and sincere, then the feeling of Haru is valid. However, if the moment is part of an engineering or media scenario, then we are being the object of consumption of a narrative that is not entirely truthful. It is important for the public to understand that the communication strategy of celebrities is no longer something of a simple nature. Today, with the power of social media and the culture of virality, every interaction can be packaged in such a way as to produce a certain impact. A sentence, a body movement, even an eye gesture can be constructed to build an emotional narrative that hits a fan's psychological weak point. In this context, it is also necessary to raise one other dimension, the monetization potential. Jungkook's viral moment of suddenly appearing and hugging Jin not only generated millions of views, but also created a great opportunity for platforms, media, and even management to push products, promotions to follow-up concerts. So the question is, are our emotions being used as a means of commercialization? Is this all a coincidence? Or part of the management of the BTS brand, which has long been recognized as the most successful example in the global entertainment industry? We do not want to accuse that all the emotional moments on stage are fabrications. But we feel the need to invite the public not to be passive in receiving information. Because in many cases, novelty that is not accompanied by reasoning will be easily utilized. Finally, we leave the assessment to you, the discerning readers. Do you think the moment really happened spontaneously and emotionally? Or is this just part of an imaging strategy wrapped in tier packaging? Do you think the information from TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube that went viral so quickly is strong enough to be a reference to the truth? Have you seen the video in its entirety? Or is it just a shortcut that has been edited to emphasize the emotional side? Criticism and reflection do not mean hating. It is precisely by thinking critically that we keep fandom healthy, do not fall victim to biased information, and still have control over what we believe. In an era of information flooding like now, the ability to filter between facts and narrative construction is the only force that can save the public from collective illusions. So we return this question to you. Are you sure that this event is real? Or could this be just a fragment of engineering so meticulously designed to cause massive emotional impact? Are we witnessing a historical moment, or are we trapped in a narrative that has been set up in such a way? Continuing with the previous reflections, we arrive at the most important point in the dynamics between the public and the entertainment industry. Who controls the narrative and who should control the truth? In the case of Jungkook's viral appearance at Jin's concert, we see how one event that has not yet been fully verified managed to create a very massive emotional effect in a short time. Thousands of fans immediately accepted the information as reality, sharing it without waiting for clarification, even making it an emotional foundation in forming expectations for the future of BTS. This should cause critical anxiety. Are we being consumers or victims of a one-sided narrative? If we examine deeper, the absence of official sources stating that the event actually happened on the main stage of Jin's concert is a big gap that deserves to be questioned. There was no official live broadcast showing the moment. There was no press statement from HYB. Even BTS's official account didn't touch on the topic at all. Where was that information born? This is where the sharpest reflective point is. The public has been in a single information ecosystem system that is no longer controlled by traditional media, but rather by algorithms, visual impressions, and the illusion of emotional connection. When emotional information circulates on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts, which are very limited in duration, emotion replaces accuracy as the center of value. In this kind of system, the narrative is no longer built on facts, but on how much it has the potential to touch the audience's heart. The obligatory follow-up question, then, is, if the narrative is shaped by what is most moving, then what happens to the supposedly objective reality? For some people, the answer to that question may be, it doesn't matter if it's real or not. It's important that I can feel it. But this kind of point of view is very vulnerable to being exploited by those who understand how to form the illusion of truth for the sake of certain interests, be it commercial, branding, or industrial politics. Let's go back to the facts. There is not a single full-length video evidence. There is no official documentation from the organizers of the concert. And there is no mainstream media reporting on the event with complete data. However, why do so many people believe that it is real? Because the information looks like reality. The visuals are supportive. His emotions are consistent. And most importantly, the narrative meets ARMY's collective expectations of emotional closeness between BTS members. So it is normal for the public to accept the story as emotional truth. Although from the point of view of fact journalism, this narrative is still very raw and incomplete. This is a new form of power in the world of information. Narratives that aren't true, but feel true. So in a situation like this, the public is required to be more than just a spectator. We need to be active readers, skeptical, and not easily shaped by visual impressions. We need to question how the video came to be, who first spread it, and whether the account has any affiliation with any particular party. Do we also remind that in the past, a lot of information was proven to be hoaxes, but was trusted by millions of people only because it was emotionally packed and touching. Even in the entertainment world of South Korea itself, there have been visual manipulations and pieces of video that shape public opinion, only to be refuted later with authentic evidence. Will the events of Jungkook and Jin be one such case? Or is it really a sincere surprise that is kept secret by all parties? Until there is irrefutable evidence, we cannot conclude. The wisest attitude is not to accept or reject completely, but to wait with productive skepticism. Do not be too quick to believe, but also do not refuse without data. Make sure that every emotion we feel does not paralyze our ability to think. We also invite fans to ask deeper questions. If these events are real, why not broadcast live by Weverse or the official media? If it's not real, who benefits most from the virality of this information? If this is just an industrial strategy, to what extent are we ready to accept that our emotions have been mobilized for the sake of a specific goal? And finally, do we really know what we see? Or do we believe because we want to believe? Until those answers come, there's only one thing we can do. Think critically, verify, and not get swept away in a wave of emotion without a data foundation. Thus, we become not only loyal fans, but also responsible information citizens. Because love for idols should not take away common sense. True love is when we are able to support consciously, critically, and wisely.